All right, down go the Astros yet again for the sixth straight time against the Yankees. It is 2024, and I guess this type of year the Astros aren't that good. The Yankees are, and we saw yet another blowout win, Gary. 9-4 in this one, 10-3. The night before, so kind of following the same script. I mean, you called it yesterday with Verlander, and today, they're going up against Alrighty, or as you called him, Lamborghini.
Lamborghini.
It was not. Let's just put it this way: this game at no point was ever in doubt. I mean, I know they scored a run early on. I did not care. I really, there's not a game this year that I felt more confident about winning than today. I was so convinced they were going to win today.
Jake, it was the exact same start as the day before.
Kyle
Tucker hits a rocket, an absolute bomb out to right field. And what's funny is normally, like, you'll see a guy hit a bomb for the other team, and you're like, oh, it's going to be one of these contests. Like a Nestor Cortez start. He gives up 2 homers early. You're like, oh, it's going to be one of these games. Kyle Tucker hit that home run. I was like, I don't give a damn. Yeah. Lamborghini's not getting it out today. And he didn't. He had no shot. I thought Verlander had a better opportunity the day before because obviously he has the pedigree, and overall he has history of pitching well against the Yankees. And of course, I mean, I think Verlander's like 41 now, so he's at that like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady age of his career. So, but fast forwarding to this game with Lamborghini, no shot. I love that I just call him Lamborghini.
I know, it's like you don't even hesitate. Yeah, he's Lamborghini.
Yeah, I just didn't think he had an opportunity to get through this lineup even twice. And given the way that Houston's pitching overall as a unit, you need a deep start from your starting pitcher. Like, let's be honest, you need a quality appearance from your starting pitcher. I didn't think he could give it to him. He didn't. And it was easy pickings from that point. And then I thought Carlos Rodon, on the other hand, he pitched smart. Other than very early on in the game, I didn't like that he was throwing Kyle Tucker inside. That didn't make much sense. I mean, given the way he hits, how quick he is to the ball inside, I think our broadcast actually brought up a point that he essentially just opens up his hips and gets to that pitch seemingly better than any player in baseball. So to see that, I was a little bit surprised by that pitch selection, but overall, I thought Rodon was very sharp.
Yeah, he continues to pitch at a high level, 7 strikeouts today. Yes, he had the home run. I get that. 7 hits as well, which, I mean, that's really kind of the standard. You go 6 innings and you give up 7 hits normally. That's kind of like a solid, quality day. But with the way the Yankees have been pitching, it's almost like 7 hits, really? I mean, he only gave up 1 yesterday. So, no, all jokes aside, Rodon pitched really well. His ERA is now at 3.56. As I will continue to say,
I know
until my last dying breath. Yeah. He was screwed in the Miami series because I don't know. Miami really needed Jazz Chisholm to get his 2 RBIs there that weren't actually RBIs. It was indeed an error by Anthony Rizzo, and if that were not credited, Rodon would be around the 3, like just straight flat 3. I'm not going to do the math right now, but 3.56 pretty much tells you he'd be low 3s right now. So I always mention that because I think it's fair to mention it, and I'm going to continue to mention it because I thought it was unfair for them to change it 2 weeks later. With that said, though, we'll take it. Rodon, he pitched really well, efficient, 100 pitches, 6 1/3. You feel good about it. Ferguson came in, short work there, only 4 pitches thrown. Basically, today's job for Ferguson was to come in and lower that ERA below 4, and that's what he did. Then Gonzalez comes in. He gives up a run. Hamilton gives up a run. But for the most part, pitching was really good. Excuse me. Pitching was really good, but not as good as the hitting, Gary, which is great because this team has been pitching, and if you don't score 5 runs, you lose every single one of those games.
Yeah, we did say that this team had to catch up to their arms, and I don't think that, okay, because if you ask the average Yankees fan, they're just like, well, if we pitch this way and then we start to hit, we're not going to lose games. And while that's true, I don't think that's necessarily realistic. I think there's at least some truth to it that you're going to see this staff combined with a great offense, that's a W. We're not losing games.
Yeah.
But having said that, as we start to warm up, especially in New York, because a lot of people don't really address how cold it is in New York. A lot of people just turn on the game and they just assume because it's 75 and breezy in your living room that that's the way it is at Yankee Stadium. It is not. It is not a hitter's ballpark early in the year. Gleyber Torres' career numbers at Yankee Stadium early in the season kind of show that to us. And a lot of these bats tend to heat up as the summer months come. Well, if they start to heat up, we both have kind of addressed the fact that our starting pitching should at least somewhat regress. It's not going to be at this level all season. But if the bats can pick up the slack, I think overall this unit is probably the first unit. I told you last episode, I've never been excited, never, not once, about the New York Yankees' chances in the American League. Never, not once. This year I am. I'm actually surprised at how well these pieces are fitting together, because you can look at Verdugo, you can see Soto, obvious fit, but there are some guys that the Yankees are getting production from on the mound that, frankly, I don't think anyone could have predicted. I don't know if anybody had all these answers just fitting perfectly out the bullpen. The Victor Gonzalez, I didn't expect to see a Victor Gonzalez at this level. I didn't expect to see a Dennis Santana. I did not expect that. Rodon, yes, I made the prediction that Rodon would return to form, but Luis Gil, how many people thought that he would show up off an injury and look like this? This is we're talking about a player who looks like an ace. Luis Gil is pitching like an ace. His mind, he looks sharp. We're used to seeing a lot of young Yankees pitchers come in, they're high velocity, very similar to Luis Severino, and they don't necessarily make any adjustments. They don't make the smart, savvy moves that a lot of other organizations tend to make. We're doing that now. So
Yeah.
once the bats catch up with that mentality that we now have adopted on the mound, we have never really struggled on the mound. If we're going to be scoring runs with any regularity, I actually have faith in this team. I do.
A multi-hit game out of your eighth hitter, definitely something you like to see, but 8 RBIs from your 2 stars, that's something more you like to see, because
Seems good.
the bottom line is, if Judge gets going like he is already starting to look like over the last 13 games, he's batting over 300. If Judge is truly back with the way Soto hits, because Soto is winning I said it before, I'll say it again. He's winning the AL MVP, no doubt about it. Otani's not in the AL. I don't have to worry about that. Soto is the best pure hitter in baseball. We've said that countless times, but not only that, like, his defense has definitely gotten better. But that's not even the most important thing. It's his eye. I mean, think about this, right? Volpe comes up and he works 2 walks to get to Soto with the bases loaded. Now, Soto only drove in 1 run out of those 2 situations. Okay. Actually, he might have driven in 2. I think he drove in 2. The first one was a infield single he beat out, followed by the worst base running error I've ever seen from Gleyber Torres. He's halfway to home, and like, they still haven't made the play yet. Like, he hasn't, the pitcher hasn't really fully turned around yet. So Soto beats out an infield single, one of those. He beats the pitcher to the bag, and Gleyber is halfway to home. So he stops and runs back, and he sees Volpe there. So he just stands there and lets himself get tagged.
One thing I will say is, when we had that route, I think, was it yesterday, actually?
10-3, yeah.
Yes. So
which one?
Which route? We are just beating the brakes off this Houston team. But when you look at a monstrous offensive performance, just overall, we just show out. And then you look at the box score and you see the dude who's hitless. And trust me, this is baseball. It is baseball. It's not anything to hang your hat on. Like, you're not going to hang your head, okay, because like, let's be realistic. Guys go 0 for 2 in a 16-3 performance from their offense. Happens. But Gleyber Torres at this point kind of seems like the odd man out. He's not necessarily heating up. I know the first day of May we were like, oh, Gleyber Torres is turning the corner, like we always like to say here in New York. But I need to see some type of long-term impact because Gleyber Torres has been wildly mediocre at best for weeks on end now. Like, we're talking about the slow start we saw from Aaron Judge. And again, on this podcast, we said we need to see some consistent positive performance out of Aaron Judge. Well, we asked the exact same thing out of Gleyber Torres. Now, these are different level players, but you can't hit 213 and not leave the ballpark with any regularity, make errors on the base pass, just mental mistakes. And then you're obviously not known for your glove. So now I have to question what you're doing on the field, because if you really ask, where's the ceiling for Gleyber Torres right now? You'd probably say a 250 season. Well, a dude who's not playing very good defense and never really has, hitting 250 is not going to cut it. So that's where I'm at. I thought I really liked his performance last year. I thought he was one of our better players, but he can't afford in a contract year to be playing this way.
I agree. I do want to give him some praise because he made one of the craziest plays in the field I've ever seen. The glove flip to Anthony Rizzo to get the guy out was insanity, right? Pure insanity. I think it was Paul O'Neill that said, I've never seen a ball flipped from a glove that far. That was insane, Gary. So I do want to give him some props. He did walk twice, but the base running error just can't happen. I mean, it just can't. So
I'm pulling up his defensive numbers right now because I'm actually very interested.
Yeah, when in doubt, look at the numbers.
Because batting right now, he's in the bottom 15% expected on base percentage, or expected batting average, excuse me, bottom 6% in slugging. So, like, obviously he's not making great contact. Chase rate's not bad, 81 percentile, so that's not terrible. And so, okay, so his fielding, his range is actually above average. Okay,
feels
his arm strength below average, running is below average. So when people talk about the Yankees becoming more athletic, I think this is kind of what we're talking about. Guys who don't necessarily have the foot speed, maybe they can come out the gate hitting 200. Like, I don't know. I just think that there's more questions than answers right now with Gleyber Torres. What do the Yankees do? Obviously, with the way Juan Soto's playing, I would imagine that everybody in the chat, and us included, are going to say that's a no-brainer re-sign.
No brain.
I mean, he's no brain. You got to have no brain to not re-sign Juan Soto.
Yeah,
and Juan Soto is going to cost $500 million minimum.
I mean, you should really.
Come on,
if you can, you should really just pay him extra and just get him figured out now. Why wait? You know,
because they won't. Well, I agree with what you're saying. Scott Boras, is he represented by Scott Boras?
He is, sadly.
No chance in the world. Because you have to remember one thing. Scott Boras is coming into this offseason with a chip on his shoulder. He's going to remember everything that we said, not just myself, everybody on Twitter. And he did a terrible job.
Oh, he was awful.
Past offseason, horrible. And so
he
having
represents
said that,
Cody Bellinger, right?
He does, but
yeah,
he did a horrible job in general. And Bellinger was actually one of his better deals that he even acquired.
And that's sad. It's
sad. Really bad.
Because we were talking about Bellinger being an 8-year deal, and he signed for what, 3?
Yeah, and to be fair to Boras in this situation, a lot of people were hesitant on Bellinger. Some people said that they weren't interested because of that exit velocity. Now, I said on the air, hell, and on the radio, I said you can't always put people in a box and just spit out mathematics as to the reason you want to bring him back. Not everything's about analytics. And Cody Bellinger is one of those players who just knows how to win. I've watched players, and I brought up the scenario of like a Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn's not gonna light up the radar gun when you're talking about exit velo the way Giancarlo did yesterday, hitting a ball 119. Now,
But
when
he's
you
going to
see a
get on
guy
base a ton.
exactly. So not everything is measurable is what I'm
No,
saying. So to
no,
Scott
we agree
Boris's
there.
credit, he was trying his best to get a contract for Bellinger, and maybe 2 or 3 teams were involved and they didn't want to go to 8 years, which is interesting. But coming into this upcoming season, no shot. Scott Boris wants to be at the podium in the offseason in December, having us all look at a 12 or 13-year deal at Yankee Stadium for $600 million. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not really that broken up about it, how much it's going to cost us, because the reality is, if you want a player of that magnitude, you got to spend the money. And I really beg to question how many Dodgers fans right now are sweating that Ohtani's getting paid $700 million. I don't know many who have.
Not a
It's
soul.
not even a conversation anymore. No one's talking about it.
I don't think people really care. Good players are going to get paid a ton of money. No Chiefs fan is saying, "Oh, we have to pay Patrick Mahomes $55 million a year." That's the going rate of the best in the league. So, yeah, it's the same thing with Judge. I don't think anybody in their right mind is really talking about money. When you start talking about money is when you sign a guy like Jacoby Ellsbury. When you talk about money, it's when you sign a guy like Andrew Benintendi to that type of deal. When you start
When they
talking
start
about
playing
money,
bad.
well, I mean, I think really, if you're a superstar, it doesn't matter how much you're paid. People are going to be like, "Oh, it's a superstar. We're good." But if you're like on the verge, like, was Robinson Cano truly a superstar? He was a star. But was Robinson Cano that guy that could sell tons of merchandise for your team?
No,
Was he Derek
no.
Jeter? Was he A-Rod? He was not, right? So
Mm-mm.
I guess really what I'm getting at is, so if Cano's not doing that off the field, right? He's not doing that. He's not marketable in the way that, a Judge is, the way a Soto is, a Jeter, an A-Rod. Then if he doesn't pan out, it's going to sting even more, right? Same thing with Ellsbury. So I think that's really what it comes down to, is like, say what you will, Stanton's marketable. He is. He's marketable. Stanton is Stanton. He won an MVP in the NL, and people know who Stanton is.
Once you win that MVP, you're a big name. Whether people
He's
think
always going to
that,
be a big name.
yeah,
Always.
whether people like agree with the fact that Giancarlo, because I know now, like the way Giancarlo's playing, everyone's like, well, no shit, I want him on the roster. But the beginning of the year, it wasn't so obvious. People were messaging me every day saying, what do we do with the DH spot? What do we do with Giancarlo? What about the money we owe him? Right? Those conversations really only come up when players aren't playing well. Well, if you re-sign Juan Soto and he just, for whatever reason, just his talent disappears and he starts hitting 235 for the rest of his career, isn't that a risk that you're willing to take?
Oh yeah,
Having
because he's
spent
not doing that.
600 million, he's not doing that. But even if he did, couldn't you feel confident in how sure you were he was going to play well? There's guys all across baseball that could warrant a big contract. Blake Snell's a perfect example. Does it really shock you, Jake, if Blake Snell went out and pitched to a 6.5 ERA this year? It wouldn't shock me. Like, I wouldn't go, what the hell?
He's done it before. He's
He's
had
done it
bad
before.
years in the past. I think the
But he
thing
could be a Cy Young as well.
exactly. I think the thing with Soto, and this is important. The thing with Soto is that even if he were to struggle or whatever, he's not a player in any stretch. The position the Yankees have put themselves in, which is a good position, but could be a bad position if they don't bring him back. The position that they've put themselves in, it's there's no going back and be like, see, I knew we shouldn't have traded for Soto, or see, like say they sign him and they sign him to a long-term deal and he struggles. I was really actually against this. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You're being what do you call him? Hindsight Hanks.
But I think, actually, believe it or not, I think Yankees fans are actually pretty decent with this type of stuff. And the best example I can give is DJ LeMahieu. DJ LeMahieu is a terrible contract on the Yankees books right now. He makes no sense.
I
He's
didn't like it when they signed him.
But what's
The
interesting, if
second
you ask
time.
the
The
average,
second
go
time.
back and look at what the average fan said about DJ LeMahieu. They said back up the Brinks truck. Every single one of them. Maybe you didn't, but the average person did. So when you look at this contract now that the Yankees have in DJ LeMahieu, Fans can't complain to Brian Cashman. He did what we asked him to do, not you, Jake, the average person. So having said that, if Juan Soto's just butt after you resign him to a 13-year deal, you can't 6 years down the road be like, why didn't we go get Paul Skeens from Pittsburgh? He's a free agent. And then he's looking at you like, well, I gave Juan Soto $600 million. What do you want?
Yeah.
You can't complain at that point. And I think that's the point that needs to be brought up in defense of this staff, because in my opinion, if they don't resign Juan Soto, I just don't know what we're doing.
No, I don't know either. And we'd be talking about the organization, the same organization that gave Aaron freaking Hicks a long-term deal, 10 years, right? 7 or 10 years, one of those. 10-year deal.
Oh, no, we gave him, what was it? Hold on one second. What was that? Was it how? Okay, let me look it up for you, actually. Yeah. I need to look up how long that deal was.
But do you see what I'm saying?
7 years.
You see what I'm getting at? If you don't bring back Soto, you're the same team that signed Aaron Hicks to a 10-year deal and couldn't give Soto what he was offered, what he was asking for. Juan Soto. You signed Aaron Hicks.
7 year, $70 million contract,
Insanity.
which extends through the 2025 season.
That's awful. That's a terrible contract. I didn't like Hicks to begin with, so it's not me just coming out of nowhere. Like, I didn't understand it. I thought he had one solid season, and they like overreacted, and they paid him all this money. I didn't like it. Another acquisition I absolutely hated from the jump that I was right about, because we'll say I was right about Hicks, right?
Who?
Well, I was right about Hicks. Oh, you're talking about the second guy?
Yes.
Well, you already know. The guy I hated from the jump, Joey Gallo. Okay, I didn't like him on Texas. Oh, he hits a lot of home runs. Well, great. So does Adam Dunn. Why don't you just go out and get Adam Dunn for free? Adam Dunn would hit 198 but have 40-something home runs, okay? And everyone would pick him in MLB The Show to be their home run derby batter because he was so good in that game. But the reality of the situation is that Adam Dunn isn't going to really help you outside of that. And if he's not hitting home runs and just striking out, he's actually hurting you. Joey Gallo is a better fielder than Adam Dunn. Okay, let's not kid ourselves. Gallo can play the field. Adam Dunn can simply not do that. I don't even think he could play first at the end of his career. It was really just DH.
Have you ever seen a worse personality fit than Joey Gallo?
Well, Michael Kay doesn't really go off on players. He's done it a few times. I disagreed with the way he went at Clint Frazier. I was also a huge Clint Frazier fan.
What did he say about Clint Frazier exactly?
It was just something about the concussion. And I forget exactly how he worded it, but I remember not liking it.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, Clint Frazier had a concussion, and like it was kind of similar to Rizzo, and I don't think he ever recovered, if I'm being honest.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about because Michael Kay did apologize to Clint Frazier. I'm assuming it was over that.
Yeah, no, that's what it was. I'm not trying to throw shade at Kay. I love Kay. But I like, my point is he very rarely calls out players.
Right.
And I disagreed. Yeah, I disagreed with the Clint Frazier stuff. That's a not homegrown because they got him, with the Andrew Miller deal. But at the same time, he kind of was homegrown because they took him through the farm system and was there for a little bit. And then they developed him, kind of like Glaber. I mean, Glaber wasn't right to the MLB when they got him for Chapman. I mean, they actually had to develop him. So, again, not homegrown per se, but close to it. And so I didn't love that. He called out Ben Rortvedt. Ben Rortvedt, to me, I totally agreed with what Michael Kay was saying. He didn't say that he was a joke or anything like that. He's just like, I don't even know who Ben Rortvedt is. I don't even know that he exists because I don't see him. And I agreed with him. I was like, as far as that trade is concerned, we got nothing for him because he doesn't exist right now. Like, just like Twitter, he's not even there. So, so the next one was Gallo, and Gallo brought it all on himself. I mean, I think you and I talked off air about this last year, probably because we had thousands of conversations on Kick. And I remember you asking me why I didn't like Gallo. And my thing is, it was all, he always wanted to be a Yankee growing up. And oh my God, it's this nice story. Well, he didn't try to get better at anything. He didn't change his approach. He went up there and swung at the same damn pitches outside the strike zone in the dirt. And then he was just an awful personality to be in that locker room because people would say, oh, yeah, he's a nice guy. Well, then at the end of the day, it all comes out in the wash. And he comes
He's a nice
out.
guy.
He comes out and he basically dog walks the Yankees to the media, like right before he's traded, and says all this stuff about the fans and how, like, I don't even leave my hotel room. And then you have people that are like, oh, I feel so bad for him. I don't. What are you doing? Are you kidding me? You want to be a Yankee so bad. You want to be a Yankee so bad. You wanted to put on those pinstripes. And you're telling me that not only could you not do it, but you didn't even try to get better. I mean, Gary, he literally had the same at-bats over and over again. And Michael Kay came out and said it was the worst 500-something at-bats in Yankee history. And guess what?
It was terrible.
I agree with him. And that was my issue with Gallo. Is because I say what you will about Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks at least did something for New York. I could not stand the guy personally, but he was better than Gallo. Cost legitimate prospects. Okay, Duran, right? You had the pitcher who ended up being in the rotation, the Rangers. Like, he cost actual prospects. I'm not saying they ended up being superstars, although don't sleep on Ezekiel Duran. But Otto is another one. But you gave legitimate prospects for a guy who just hit for power. It's like, oh, Gary, they got the short porch. Gallo's going to hit 40 bombs. Gary, I don't even think he hit 30 over the course of a year and a half.
No, I honestly, I don't think he did either. To be honest with you, I don't even know one adjustment he made. Because what's interesting about, let's look at our Yankees lineup today. Okay? Anthony Volpe. Can I name any adjustments? Jake, can you name any adjustments offensively that he's tried to make the last 6 months? I sure as hell can. He's flattened out his swing.
That's a big one.
That seems like a really big one.
He's changed his approach at the plate. Instead of being a swing first guy, now he's taking the first pitch. He's being more confident in the box. Doesn't feel like he has to be aggressive right out the rip. Joey Gallo didn't change an entire thing. And that is why Joey Gallo, right? Get this. From 2021 with the Yankees, he has hit 160, 159, 162, 177, and 122. And oh, by the way,
he's Joey hitting Gallo, 122.
He's hitting 122 this year. 23 games with Washington. And oh, by the way, Joey Gallo, right? In 2021, he was an all-star the first half of the season with Texas. He finished his Yankees 2021 season hitting 160. He hit 223 and 25 home runs with Texas. He was traded to New York, played 58 games. He hit 13 home runs, and he batted 160. Joey Gallo
was practically a home run.
Yeah. Joey Gallo was the worst move the Yankees have ever made. And I don't even think they didn't give up a ton for him.
You think it was worse than Donaldson?
Oh, it was way worse. Donaldson could contribute. Say what you will about Donaldson. He won a game. He had a couple of those walk-off hits. He was a great defensive third baseman. I mean, Donaldson also, his personality, I remember, was liked. Like, they thought he fit the locker room. He was well-liked. He was a well-liked player.
Yeah, because he had that one situation, I think, that really dampened his Yankees career. He had that situation happen with, I believe it was Tim Anderson. So a lot of
people talked about him. They were on his side, though. That was the thing.
Yes, but at the same time, it kind of brought the conversation a different direction than where it needed to be.
No, that's true.
Because I also mentioned defensively, he was a wizard over there at third base. He was great. Yeah. And of course, he was replacing Gio Urshela, who, by the way, was a fan favorite.
Yes.
So you can't.
They had a chance to get him this year.
They did. You can't replace a fan favorite and then not just rake. Because again, Yankees fans remember you if you play well, but if you play like shit, they're going to remember you too. So if somebody played really well before you better show up and at the very least contribute in a big way. Because if you don't, they're going to be looking in the rearview mirror. They did. So That's where I'm at. But again, to bring it back, Aaron Judge, he's our best player, or to your point, second best player. I can tell you the adjustment he made, chasing too many sliders outside the zone. And anytime he struggles, he's making the same mistake over and over. But he tries to make that adjustment. He discusses it. He's open with it. Tell me one single adjustment that you heard Gallo do. Gallo was actually complaining. This was the funniest part by far. And to give Michael K credit, Michael K actually brought this up on broadcast. He said, "Can you believe that this guy is complaining about the shift?"
Oh, I know.
You can't struggle and then complain about the shift. Every single other pull happy player. Hey, by the way, don't you know that they considered my dad a straight pull hitter, dead pull? They occasionally they'd play him in the 6 hole and at shortstop, and he would try and make adjustments. And he made enough adjustment to keep him honest so that they couldn't just play in left field the whole game. That's the way baseball works. Baseball is not just hit the ball hard and then just hope and pray, because that's what Gallo was doing. Gallo was essentially showing up and saying, yes, I have my flaws, but I also have my strengths. And if my strengths aren't working, I'm going to continue to just beat the dead horse until my strengths pull through. That's literally the way he played his whole Yankees career, and it was horrible to watch. Bad. But thankfully now, give the Yankees credit, every single hitter in this lineup, and that includes Trevino, Austin Wells, thankfully, all these guys are hell-bent on adjustments. Occasionally, we're going to come out the gate slow. We'll have a slow 3-4 game series, but it seems like this team is headed in the right direction where their adjustments are turning into results. If that's happening, I mean, shit, Baltimore better keep up the pace, because frankly, we seem built for the long haul. We've got reinforcements coming. They don't.
And this team can win on the road. They can win at home. They can win with pitching. They can win with hitting. I think real quick, going back to Gallo, the reason why I wanted to bring him up is just because it's a reminder that, you know, we were talking about if Soto didn't work out, like everyone wants Soto back, right? You can't just be like, oh, well, I didn't want Soto to begin with. Gallo wasn't a move anywhere near on the level of Soto. Okay. Gallo was not a good move. Like, I mean, analytically, people would always throw that in my face and be like, you're out of your mind. He's got this, this, and this. And I'll be like, I don't really care. I mean, frankly, this guy just hits home runs and strikes out a ton. I mean, he led the league the year prior. He had over 200 strikeouts. And we've talked about before, strikeouts are not the end all be all. I'd personally rather have you strike out than go out into a double play. But I'm not like lining up to take on strikeouts just for home runs if you're not even going to get the ball and the bat, or the bat and the ball. So, yeah, it's just, to me, it's one of those things like going back to Gallo where it wasn't even necessarily who they gave up either. It was just the fact that I think when you got him, you had pressure. You were now pressuring Boone to put him in the lineup, which was taking other guys out of it. So I think he in turn made the Yankees worse just by his existence. And I know that sounds harsh, but I mean, Michael K said it without me having to say it. I mean, worst 500 at bats in Yankee history. And I agree. But Gary, talking about Gallo and moving on to this lineup, this is not what the Yankees have to go through. And we were worried that it was going to be that way with Stanton. But as of right now, hitting 228, I'm watching the game with my father earlier, and, he's like, man, Aaron Judge hitting 236. And you're like, what the hell's happening? And then you see Stan hitting 228 and you're like about to throw a party. You're like, yeah, I'll take this. And it's funny. I mean, that's really where we're at. You take the good with the bad. If Stanton continues to hit piss missiles into the left field seats, like at 120 miles an hour, by all means, he can stay. But, the moment that bat starts to, just completely disappear and he's hitting 170, now we're going to get back to the DFA talk. So
I don't think that's even a possibility at this point. I think
I don't think he's that hitter.
No, and here's the good sign. And
it's
I don't,
a very good sign.
Again, my whole desk is made of wood, so I'll knock on it. Giancarlo Stanton essentially is playing every day. He's playing a lot. Now, having said that, Giancarlo looks healthy. I know that's easy to say after a day where he just, he's hitting bombs, but Giancarlo, like I said before the season started, he just needs to be streaky. It's his only job. And Having said that, when you're hitting 228, he's got 8 homers, right? So obviously you should be very excited about that. He's still got the pop, still got the exit velo. All that stuff about Stanton is still there. But having said all that, it hasn't even warmed up yet. So when you're talking about it's 85, 90 degrees at Yankee Stadium, Giancarlo is going to be flipping balls the other way.
Oh,
That's what we've come to expect. So this version of Giancarlo Stanton, we haven't seen this in 2 years. I know that
he couldn't
there's
pull the
people out
ball
there who are
last
like,
year.
I never gave up on Giancarlo. Giancarlo Stanton hasn't even been this version of what we're seeing in actually some time. Okay. So let's remember, like, let's not revise history. Giancarlo Stanton has not been this. So now that we're getting this, I'm expecting this to get better, to be honest with you. Seeing 228, like your dad said, it's like, oh, phew, we actually are getting some production out of him. But these numbers, 228 is going to turn into 245, 250. Remember those Luke Voigt numbers where that batting average always crept into the 240s, 255, and you're like, anytime I see him hitting 250, he's doing his job. I think we're going to see Giancarlo get up to 250.
Oh my
and that's
goodness.
going to be incredible. And I guess the last time I said Giancarlo wouldn't do something, he went and did it. So hopefully I didn't just undo that.
Oh, Gary, you're playing a dangerous game here, my friend.
But I'm off to a pretty good start this month. Let's be honest about May.
Yeah, I know.
I said Verlander was getting shelled and Lamborghini was getting shelled, and so far we're 2 for 2.
Lamborghini, I think everybody agreed with you there.
You're not wrong.
So tomorrow, Ronel Blanco is trying to save the Astros season, in my opinion. If they get swept by the Yankees, Marcus Stroman's on the mound. Stroman, I think he had a few, really, really good starts to start the season. And I don't want to say it's tailed off, but he hasn't been as dominant as of late. Like early on in the season, you're like, that's our ace. I think
the best question ever for you, by the way.
Okay. I
Finish
can't wait
what
to
you're
hear
going to
it.
say. And yeah. Do you want to know it now?
Yeah.
If the Houston Astros became sellers, would you be interested in trading for Jose Altuve?
Oh my goodness.
Because I'll go ahead and tell you right now, I would be completely open to it.
It depends on what you gave up. That's what I would say. Because I'm not giving up Spencer Jones. I'm not giving up Jason Dominguez. I mean, yeah, it really depends on, like, I'm not giving up Heel, obviously.
Well, so this is the thing. Jose Altuve is a player. Jose Altuve is a player that, so he signed through 2029. Okay, just to give you a briefing. He's making about $25 million a year, roughly, right?
He's 34, though. That's my concern.
He is 34. So that, in theory, should drive his price down. And again, I'm not saying the Yankees should be calling about Altuve. I just think it's an interesting conversation because there are people who really are stuck on this Altuve thing. Like, I can't even believe that people go to Yankee Stadium and just boo their asses off when they see Jose Altuve. I have been moved on from that situation. Like, that situation with the trash cans was relevant in my household like 4 years ago during COVID. I'm not kidding.
So I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'm not really an Altuve fan. The F Altuve chants are eye rolling, to say the least. I think it, just makes you sound like you're embracing the little brother attitude. And you like the Yankees. I mean, they've won 27 World Series. They're the most successful franchise in the history of sports. But, I'll say this. I like the way Altuve plays the game. I like that he can do the little things. I like that he bats over 300 consistently. I like that he has some power that really isn't talked about. But being that he's 34, and I know he's playing well, but it's like that would need to be a small return. Like, I wouldn't be able to offer anybody huge. But also, I will say this, when it comes to Altuve, who is, of course, represented by Boris. Boris and him got talking. Boris was trying to get him to test the market. Altuve said, absolutely not. I want to be back in Houston. So he said, get it done. I don't care how you have to do it. Just get it done. Do not try and, be aggressive and have us test the market. I have no interest, which is why I wish Juan Soto would say that. But, yeah, I mean, I think Altuve wants to stay in Astro. I know it's a bad year and could potentially be the end of their season tomorrow. And I'm not even kidding you. If they're 12-25, I don't really think their team is looking great. So there's a chance tomorrow they're fighting for their season. And I still think Altuve would want to see it through,
I don't disagree with you at all. I think Altuve probably finishes his career in Houston. So I'm not, I don't think the Yankees are trading for him at all. What's up?
Altuve is Steph Curry. They're the Warriors, and Altuve is the Steph Curry of the Warriors. Steph Curry of the Astros.
Yeah. No, I can see it.
And I don't think Steph Curry wants to leave. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think you're more likely to see Draymond, Klay Thompson, all those guys than Steph Curry leave. I feel it's the same with Altuve. Altuve is going to remain an Astro, but it is a fun conversation to have for sure. And it is something where I would have to really consider based on who you would have to give up. I might consider that. But talking about tomorrow's game, Ronel Blanco with a 2.09 ERA, 0.96 whip. He's good. He does not strike out guys. He generates soft contact. So that's been his thing. He's been efficient, 38 and 2/3 innings, only giving up 21 hits, 36 strikeouts. I mean, a decent amount of strikeouts. I'm not saying he can't strike guys out, but he's not like an overpowering strikeout guy. He's kind of like Stroman.
Strikeout an inning. Oh, middle play.
Yeah, I mean, he's like Stroman, right? Who also generates soft contact. But Stroman's whip has gone up quite a bit. It's now at 1.43.
Oh, yeah. Those last two starts, he had 10 walks.
So
Stroman was picking. He was picking around. Let's be honest.
So, I mean, I'm going to say the Yankees win tomorrow. I do think they sweep and kind of end Houston tomorrow. And they win their 7th in a row.
Okay.
And I think, man, anytime Soto goes up against Houston, the one thing that's going to suck is if Houston doesn't make the ALCS, because it doesn't look like they're even going to make the playoffs.
Right.
I feel like they got Juan Soto to be that guy. We have our trap card. It's Juan Soto. And we know he's going to come through in the ALCS. And now it's like the Astros might not be there. It's I would have loved if, and again, the story is not fully written. I know I'm saying that they're done. It does feel like they're done. We've also seen the Twins. I think they won 26 games in a row. We've seen crazy stuff happen in this league, but it doesn't look good for the Astros. What I'm saying is that I want full-fledged revenge if I'm a Yankee fan, which I am. I want full-fledged revenge knocking the Astros out in the ALCS. That's what I want. Probably not going to happen. Tomorrow, though, would go a long way. I really believe that if that's 7 straight against the Astros, they fall to 12-25 and 5-13 on the road. I don't know if you can recover from that. Mathematically, you can.
I'm fading that. Okay, I'm a Yankees podcaster. It's my job to be objective. I see this game edging towards Houston. Of course, the Yankees can win. It's baseball. We see it all the time. But I do like the matchup for Houston tomorrow. So I'm going to be realistic with it. I usually fade the sweep. Houston has pedigree. Doesn't mean it doesn't mean you're going to win the game tomorrow. But championship level teams usually can get up off the mat. Right now, they're laying on their back. That's the situation right now for Houston. People are talking about trades. What are we going to do with Bregman? He's hitting under 200. What are we going to do with Altuve?
They're behind the Angels right now.
It's a joke, right? Yeah. And they hear all that. So I'm going to rely on the fact that they know the situation that they're in. They know what everyone's saying. And they've got their big horse on the mound tomorrow. So Yeah, I'm rolling with Houston, but of course I'm always rooting for the Yankees. I mean, it's never going to change. Our podcast is way more fun when we win.
Oh,
Our
absolutely.
numbers do way better when we win. I mean, let's be honest. But, again, it's my job to at least address what the situation's looking like on my end, and then we'll see where it falls.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Yankees win. I mean, I kind of almost want to go blowout here because I think Ronel Blanco will pitch well, and then they'll get after that bullpen. There's not a guy in that bullpen where I'm like, yeah, they have no chance. Like, I mean, if they see Hader, which they haven't been able to see him, but if they see him, I think they beat him up. Just because I don't like the way he's pitching lately. I'm gonna say the Yankees win 7-4.
Okay.
I'll go 8. I'll go 8-2.
Okay, so the offense sprints through the finish is what you're saying this series.
I really think the offense is kind of here to stay. Now, are they going to score 9 runs a game? No. But I think they're here to stay in that they are going to have a lot of games moving forward where they're getting double-digit hits. They might not score those runs, and that's always been an issue, right? It's always been an issue. We talked about that. They struggled to cash in. Remember when I was doing the NFL draft coverage and you were doing the podcast by yourself? I watched those episodes. And what did you constantly say? They did not cash in. They did not cash in.
They didn't.
So I could definitely see another 11 hit game. And, at worst, I think they have like 11 hits and then, they only score 3. I mean, I could see that. But I don't know. I feel like right now the Yankees are turning a corner, going from a team that's scary good to potentially scary elite. And I think they kind of had that wake up call when they played, the Orioles, because the Orioles series, that brought them back down to earth pretty quickly. I mean, when you have the single digit, in the loss column, you're feeling good. But the moment that all of a sudden creeps into the teens, now you have something to talk about. And we saw the Yankees Twitter was in a total uproar, in a blaze, if you will, during that time. So obviously it goes to show you the Yankees had bounced back. I think they do it again. I think they continue on. Tomorrow, 5:05 Eastern time. I don't know what the hell that is.
There must be something on tomorrow. I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
They must know I want to go watch Fallout because I did watch the first episode and it was tremendous.
I am not surprised. I'm not at all surprised that you liked it.
Good.
That makes me happy. Are you going to watch it after this?
Oh, are you kidding me? I'm locked and loaded. AirPods, these AirPods that you're seeing in my ear, they'll be right back in my ear. I'm going to grab this laptop straight off the counter and I'm taking it right there to bed.
Well, there you go. You heard him here first. If you guys haven't checked that out, by the way, you should definitely do that. Completely off topic, but yeah, I think that's going to do it, Gary, because you need to go and at least catch one episode, because by the time you wake up tomorrow, the Yankees and Astros will be on. No, I'm kidding. It'll be 2:05, but still, that's so.
Well, hopefully YouTube uploads this podcast in a timely fashion. I mean, that's literally all we ask.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the new apartment, the internet seems to be much faster. I was getting 800 download. Of course.
Oh, that's incredible. Which, by the way, we're also monetized, so I believe we can take subs, super chats, all that type of stuff. I'm not sure, but
I think it's super chats. So if anyone wants a super thanks as well. So super chats are live, and super thanks are like donated comments, if you will. After something is already aired or
I see.
Whatever. Yeah. So that's that. And then we can also make memberships. We haven't really done that yet, but we can get into that if anyone's
I know
interested.
exactly what I want our membership logo to be. Before we get off here, our membership logo should be just a circle with pinstripes. And I believe Scott Proctor was number 43. It should be a Scott Proctor logo. It'd be the best, because it's such a perfect way to describe our podcast. Like, we like to talk about the non-sexy player.
I feel like we have to have Scott Proctor on just for the vibes.
Having Scott Proctor on this podcast would be fantastic, which will absolutely get done.
Yeah, we need to do that. So Anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We'll be back tomorrow. I can't believe 5:05. What the hell is that? On a Thursday? Man. Maybe the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, something like that. I don't know. They were going on today, so I don't know. But appreciate you guys. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow me at JK Bogan, follow Gary Sheffield Jr. at Gary Sheffield Jr., and follow the show at Yankees Unloaded. We'll see you guys in the next one. You guys take care.
And like this video.